Ladies and gents, welcome back. Welcome to Aid Thompson and Other Disappointments. We are on episode 346 now of your weekly dispatches from dystopia. Your veritable Willy Wonka tour of all things awful, in which what do? I dance with my hat and my cane, pointing out all of the terrible things that are going on in the country, the world, and indeed the universe. And basically through the miracle of misery loves company, that blitz spirit, I convince you to sit here and have a good time with me. Sit here and drink with me, people. It's last orders on the bar of the Titanic. Let's get brandy. Now, what's going on this week? What's been happening? What's the happy haps? I guess I could start off with me, with us, with here, if you like. We lost the internet over the weekend. That's my update. We lost the internet, so that was fun. A little sneak preview, I suppose, of what it's going to be like when the British infrastructure does eventually creak and collapse. Little teaser, little taster of things to come. Because the connection just broke. It just broke on Saturday, about Saturday lunchtime, inexplicably, like without warning. I still don't really understand quite what happened, like what caused it to. It just sort of just went. But in the absence of a connection, our connection, to the global information superhighway, we were very much left propelled back into the Stone Age, pushed back into the techless existence of boredom and wonder. And yes, dear viewer, dear listener, the severing of modern technology was instant in its impact, I can assure you. Because I don't know if you know how long you've been listening to this, but I've mentioned it a few times before. Like I have a couple of kids, right? I've got a couple of young children in the house, and they've kind of grown up with it. The internet. For them, the internet has just always kind of been there. The internet is just it just is. It's part of the fabric of existence. It's just there. It's like a magical anomaly. They've been conditioned into thinking it's just there. It is omni, and it should always be there for them. And yet it is something that I know through my own lived experience. I know that they are lucky to have it, because it wasn't always there for me in my lifetime. It's something that I personally didn't have when I was a kid. And so I feel like that they need to be a bit grateful about this. They need to be a bit understanding. They need to be a little bit less spoiled about it, is what they were being. There's a part of me that's like, you little fuckers are lucky to even have this thing that has always been in your lives that I didn't have when I was your age. It's like a present father. I suppose it's like a present father. Like, you have no idea what it's like to grow up without the thing that you have here, who always is, who just always exists around you. No idea. I mean, I really think, probably what was going on psychologically with me and losing the internet is that I had metaphorized this Wi-Fi into fatherhood to process the trauma of my dad not being there for me. Like, it's starting to make sense now. I understand what I was actually going through. Have I mentioned to you guys that my parents split up when I was 4? No? Sometimes I bring it up. You would never guess it unless I did say it, would you? You would never guess it because I keep my cards close to my chest in that respect. I don't exhibit any emotional problems like, sitting by myself in a shed, screaming into the ether for attention. There's no signs or symptoms of what I've been through, guys. But anyway, between me not being able to edit and upload clips and busying myself and distracting myself, and my son not being able to play his Roblox, and my 4-year-old not being able to watch her cartoons. Like, everyone in our house has some form of internet addiction. Just, like, between all of us, each one of us has our own way that we're just irreparably hooked on this fucking thing. Like, my son is addicted to games. My daughter's addicted to cartoons. I'm addicted to, YouTube and doing this sort of stuff. My missus appears to be addicted to Googling about family solicitors. Or so, I don't know what that's about. But between all of that, the weekend without Wi-Fi was just a real eye-opener. In terms of how reliant on it we are, how hooked on it we've become. Because there was tantrums, there was, tears, there was stress, there was frustration. And like I was getting all radicalized about it, Like I was saying, how are you going to handle actual economic collapse when you can't even keep it together? When you're just reduced from like regular broadband, you're just reduced to 4G on your phone. Like, you still have the internet on your phone. And you can't handle it. Like, how are you going to handle it, Ed, when you have to go totally cold turkey? Like, I think this is a real thing for people who forged social groups on the internet, particularly parents. Because I'm 44, right? And all I've really done for the last few years since becoming a father is what do I do every day? I get up, I sort the kids' breakfast, I take one of them to school, then I come back, then I take the other one to the nursery, then I come back, then I go to work, and then it's a fairly like isolated existence, but I forged these relationships, these friendships through the podcast, through TikTok, through YouTube, through activism, and so on. But like, then this is my outlet. This is my equivalent, like catching up with people. This is my equivalent of like being with friends, my social mechanism outlet. Like, don't take this away from me and force me, like confront me with the reality of how lonely I actually am in my real actual life. Don't expose me to that. I am literally not prepared for it. I don't baptism of fire me back into reality. Expose me to how lonely I still am when the curtain comes down. Like, what the fuck? So yeah, I was like, giving myself a bit of a talking to. I was just like, seriously, Aid, like, get it together, man. Like, how are you going to survive mentally when the only way that you're left with to pass your time is throwing acorns into a mug with your kid and any other survivors in the tribe, throwing acorns into a mug and counting which one of you managed to throw the most acorns into the mug? Like, that is the peak of your post-apocalyptic entertainment aid. That's where you're headed. That is what's coming. I would start thinking about this, weaning yourself off this stuff, if I were you. Or at least remember to pack hungry hippos before you leave the house, before one of your neighbors is, ejecting you, forcing you, threatening you to leave your home before they club you to death for your last tube of toothpaste. And now, look, obviously it wasn't just me that was having a hard time with this. It was me and my children. My children were fucking fiending fiending for the internet. My son was just so lost and bored and upset about it. He was just so sad. It was like he was in mourning. He was sort of in a mourning process for having lost it. Also, like I joked earlier about like how, the internet is a metaphor for, for father or for another parent or whatever. But honestly, I think he mourned the loss of the internet. I think he mourned this shit harder than I think he would have done had I actually fucking snuffed it. Like if I had hung myself in the woods down the back there, if I had ended my life, I reckon my son would have been like, he's dead. Yes. Yeah, it's really tragic, Jacob. It's nothing. It's not to do with you. He was very unwell in the head, and he's decided to check it. But he's dead. He's not coming back. No, he won't be coming back. The funeral will probably be in a week, maybe 10 days. Right. Okay. So there's no one that's gonna come into my room and stop me playing Roblox tonight. I can just carry on playing forever? Like he's not coming back? Is that for real? Like there's the internet that's always been there for him and with him. There's that. And then there's the man that keeps on coming into his room and getting in the way of it and stopping him from playing with this thing. It's just that is the familial dynamic, I think. But anyway, so I call the Zen internet guy. We go through some tests and we book the BT engineer. Obviously, I'm like, okay, great, thanks, good stuff. And it's like 2 days away at that point. And to begin with, like, it's kind of fun. It's like there's a novelty to this. I go, I guess we've gone dark. I guess we've got off the grid, guys. It's like there's a novelty. It's a bit silly. It's a bit fun. It's a bit like power cuts, like, I don't know if you've ever been through a power cut in a storm or whatever, and you kind of, you get the candles out to make it a bit spooky or a bit fun. You all hobble together. Maybe you read a story or a ghost story, right? If it's the right time of year or whatever. Or like, sometimes if you live and work in London, you will be familiar with this. But sometimes you jump on the tube and 99 commuters, like out of 100, will just be like stressed, bored, office workers, people trying to get from one branch of Nero to the other one because they're the duty manager or it's a nurse or a doctor or whatever, right? But occasionally you will see posh people daring to go on the tube because they're late for the theatre or something. And for them, like, there's a novelty to it. There's a novelty for rich people who couldn't get a cab, who are now on the tube. And they like hold on to the thing like, it's something a bit different, isn't it? There's a novelty to it. It's awkward, it's inconvenient, but it's a one-off. There's novelty to that. What's another one? CEO of Burger King doing a morning shift, just a one-off, a morning shift PR photo op, where he's like flipping burgers or like, cleaning the floor. Like, it's just a one-off. So there's novelty. Oh, this is a bit fun, isn't it? Oh, it's a bit silly. Like, it's a one-off. There's still some novelty to it, even though it's a bit inconvenient, even though it's not fun. You can kind of get in the spirit of things. But that's, that novelty, that only lasts for like a matter of hours. if fucking that. Like, it starts in our context. It starts with us playing cards together. Okay? Playing Uno as a family. And as I say that, imagine us like a little 4-piece family. Me, my missus, the 2 kids were playing Uno together. Like, how? It's quite adorable, isn't it? You imagine that. You envisage that. How is that not adorable and sweet? How am I not the most adorable father when it's like that? And then after the card game, I asked them if they would like to go for a bike ride. It was a sunny day. You know, like I'm cleaning the house. I'm playing cards with my kids. I'm going for bike rides. Now, like, my girlfriend's like, who even are you? Who is this? Like, I'm sick. Like, is it Dr. Sam Beckett? Has somebody quantum leaped into my life partner? I don't recognize you. And I'm like, hey, who wants to go out for a bike ride? And they're like, no, Dad. No, it's fucking freezing. It's like 1 degree out there. Do I want to go for a bike ride? No, how about you go for a fucking bike ride? How about you get on your bike and you pedal down to Curry's or whatever and you buy us all a dongle so we can all log back onto the internet, which is the thing that we actually want to do. And then we can all go back to just ignoring each other and staying the fuck out of everybody's way. Do I want to go on a bike ride? Why don't you piss off, Dad? I'm like, well, you know, I just thought, just thought it'd be something a bit different. My son's like, no, just get the fucking cards out. Just deal the cards. Like, this is just what it is. Let's just pass the time, shall we? I'm like, well, we don't have to do the bikes. I mean, we could all go for a ramble. My son's like, just deal the fucking cards. Like, my son is like a tough love parent to himself. You know? He's like, let's just take our medicine with this, shall we? You know, let's just come down off the internet. Let's just try and get through this till Monday, and then it'll be back, and then we can all just, you know, get on with our lives. Like, he wants the internet back. He knows he can't get it till Monday, so he's just like, why are we trying to sugarcoat it or turn this into some sort of Disney movie? Like, nobody wants to go for your bike ride. Let's just tough this out, deal the fucking cards. But yeah, to begin with, it's, you know, it's all right. It's a novelty. It's fun. I'm understanding of the whole situation, of the outage, because, you know, mistakes happen, right? People fuck up occasionally when they're on the job, if they work in telecoms, whatever. You know, like maybe BT have done some work down the road and maybe some guy has disconnected us by accident. Maybe somebody didn't pay their bill. Maybe somebody else moved out and the disconnection was requested. It was just kind of a mix-up. Maybe that's what happened. And I am broadly reasonable and understanding at this point. But with every second that passes, every time that I speak to Zen Internet, to BT, to OpenReach, the three of them, you know, I'm going back and forth to each one of them. Every time I get an update, they just push my decency more and more until it wilts away and withers, until slowly but surely I become that fucking arsehole about this. I do. Slowly I get ruder. Slowly I become that guy. Just waiting and pestering and always phoning back for an update. Slowly I get pissier, dear listeners, when I call up to find out what actually went wrong, when the ETA is for the fix, because my kids are getting more and more impatient. They're getting less entertained, more bored, more ratty. And I'm complaining to friends about this. That's how I'm passing my time, is with my internet friends on WhatsApp, moaning to them, and they're just like, well, why are you staying cooped up in the house? You know, like, why don't you take your kids out for a bit? And I'm just like, they don't want to go out. They don't want to go out. They would rather be, like, as miserable as they are, they would rather be here inside the house where the internet used to be. Like, they're like mourning children clinging onto the dead corpse of a parent in this internetless house, hanging out here just in case he might come back to life. No, he's not. It's gone. You need to accept it. Why don't you take the kids out for a bit? Because it's fucking 1 degree here in Hampshire. Are you insane? Their lack of enthusiasm for going out into the freezing cold, that is the correct reaction. I'm not going to punish them for reaching the correct conclusion. Do you want to go outside in 1 degree? No, I don't, Dad. Fucking blinding. You're very perceptive. Like the transition that I underwent throughout this last weekend, from where I started off jovial and understanding, it was a novelty. It's just a novelty. Oh, this is a bit fun. That first phone call, you know, you phone up Zen Internet, and they're nice and jovial to you. They're like, oh well, sorry about this, Mr. Thompson. Let's see if we can get you back online, shall we? And then I'm talking to my missus. I'm just like, just talking to them now. Yeah, just trying to sort it. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. And the Zen guy like runs his test, and then he's just like, oh, well, it does seem like the problem is coming from outside your house, Mr. Thompson. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, could somebody come out and fix it? Oh, well, it is the weekend, sir. I'm like, yeah, I'm very aware of that. I've got 2 kids going fucking apeshit in the background. Just in case you thought that was the soundtrack to the comedy movie that is my life. It's not. They're incredibly bored. So when could you come out and fix it? Oh, well, it shouldn't be too long. Right, well, I know that it shouldn't, but it shouldn't have gone down in the first fucking place, should it? So, when specifically are you going to come and fix it? Oh, it probably won't be till Monday. Monday now, sir. Right, but first thing, Monday, so I can still do work that day? Well, it'll be sometime in between the hours of 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. All right, yes, fine. And just slowly, the boredom, the rattiness, the stress, it all just builds up, doesn't it? And it just eventually, like, it breaks through. It breaks through the constraints of your good character, doesn't it? And I shall tell you when I knew that was happening to me. When I knew that I was no longer actually a nice person with all of this, like... About Sunday afternoon, I was like, Ruby, bath time. Calling out to her from upstairs. Ruby, bath time. Because I'm like, at least when she's in the butt, she's just, like, that's her craziness. She's the crazy one. She's only like 4 years old. She's batshit. Always hurting herself. High maintenance. Very easily upset. I was at the top of the stairs, like, Ruby, bath time. Because at least if she's in the bath, I just know where she is. She's happy in the bath. That's like 20, 25 minutes. She's sort of constrained. She's in there. I just know where she is, and it's just less fucking hassle. I was like at the top of the stairs. I was just like, Ruby, bath time. She was like, this is the 3rd bath today. I was like, I don't give a shit. Get in the tub. So anyway, yes, this has been my life for the last few days. This is why there was no alternative paper review or any clips put up on Saturday or Sunday or Monday morning. And it's funny, do you know what? Like, on reflection with this whole experience, it's made me think, because I do tell myself, I am more prepared than most for... the capitalist decline of civilization, for the end game that's coming. I tell myself I'm more, at least you're aware, Aid. At least you know it's coming. I tell myself that. I take solace in that. That at least, I'm more prepared than most. But honestly, like, this last weekend, living without internet has illustrated, I think, quite admirably that I am not perhaps as prepared as I had imagined before. For life post-collapse. Not quite as prepared for it as I had envisaged. Like a few cans of beans at a Crossbow are just not going to cut it. Clearly. I mean, fuck the American coup, guys. I am in dire need of one of Elon Musk's Starlinks. I think that's what I've learnt from the last few days. Anyway, why am I boring you with this stuff? We should be talking about the news. This isn't politics, Aid. This isn't the news. But this is, it's news for me, isn't it? This is something that I have been through. Something that needs to be vented. You got to get it off of your chest. Otherwise, you go crazy. And you might end up in your shed screaming into the ether. And you know what? I still haven't worked out whose fucking fault it was. Nobody will tell me whose fault it was. Who unplugged it? Who cut the cable? Was it BT? Was it OpenReach? Was it Zen Internet? Nobody will accept the blame for it, for this 3-day period of going dark and me not earning any money. And you know what? It's not surprising. It's not surprising that nobody wants to hold their hands up to this, because whoever is to blame, wherever the fault actually lies, they could owe me as much as £1.37 in lost Google Ads revenue. So, I don't know. Let's move on, shall we? Let's talk about something else. So, another thing I wanted to talk about tonight was the Grammys. Guys, can we talk about the Grammys, the Grammy Awards, big music event in Los Angeles normally, I think. Because I wanted to do something just a little bit different for this midweek episode, because so much of what I'm doing at the moment, so much of the content that I'm putting out at the moment is, it's doom and gloom, it's the end of days, it's, all of that stuff. And I just want to take a little break from it, if I may, if you'll indulge me. A little break from the terror, a music special, if you like. Because I don't know if you saw the Grammys or if you read some of the coverage from it. I think it's Sunday night it took place. If you saw the award winners or the nominations. But for me, it was quite eye-opening. Basically, like how bad music has become industrially, And we've danced around this before on this show, though not admittedly for a while, about the changing shape of the music business, like where it's gone from and where it's at now. But I think this is the first time I've looked at the Grammys like people used to look at the Brits, when that went stale. Because a lot of people only remember like the Brits from the Oasis days, right? From the Pulp glory days in the 90s. But before the Britpop years, fuck me gently. It was awful. Oh my God. The Brits had got bad. It's just Samantha Fox hosting it, and George Michael would win an award, and then Phil Collins would win an award, and then Rod Stewart would win an award. Like, you get the idea. It's just all of the expected, very commercial acts, and it was equal parts boring and beige. Performances by Jive Bunny and Yaz, or, some shit. Sponsored by Comet, probably, like that kind of vibe. With a monologue by Russ Abbott. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. You get the idea. I'm painting a picture for you, right? So, that is where it feels like the Grammys are now. Because I saw the nominations, right, ahead of time, and then I saw the winners from the other night. And I was just like, wow, that is... Like, what does this tell us about music? Because now I'm like, I used to be big into music. I used to be in a band, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I still sort of keep a loose eye on what's going on. But I'm also very political these days. I'm also involved in satire and, podcasts and activism to a lesser extent, maybe. And so I'm like looking at it through that prism also, where I'm like, what does it tell us about music and about entertainment? But also, what does it tell us about society? More broadly, that everything getting nominated or winning these things now feels like it's fucking 30 years old, 30 years in the game. Like, minimum is how it feels when you look at the names that are winning. These are what, like, how are the Beatles winning the award for best rock performance? Best rock vocal. The Beatles have won it in 2025. How do you explain that? Like, who do they beat for best rock performance? Fucking Herman's Hermits. Who else was in the category? How in the name of fuckery are the Rolling Stones walking away with the best rock metal album in 2025? How are they doing it? Who's nominating them for that award? best rock metal album, really? Like, was there really no bands that put out a better rock or metal album than the Rolling Stones in the last year? There's none, really. Nobody was better than the fucking 80-year-old Rolling Stones. Best rock performance, best rock metal album, and they both get grabbed by two bands who peaked. They commercially peaked like 50 fucking years ago. Like, how is this? How is this anything other than farce? And I looked at the R&B awards also. Fucking Chris Brown. Best R&B album. Chris Brown. Who, by the way, he first debuted in like 2004. So even though he's not like a relic like the Beatles and the Stones, I mean, he's still 20 years deep, right? And he's the best that anyone in the Grammys can find for best R&B album, really, is Chris fucking Brown. Chris Brown's latest album is the best, right? Okay. Chris Brown of misogyny fame. Chris Brown of physically assaulting Rihanna fame. Chris Brown of threatening voicemails and restraining orders fame. That guy. That guy who is 20 years into his career. That is the best that the Grammys can do. Is it? That's the best R&B album that anyone can achieve today. Is that guy. I mean, I suppose we should probably take some solace in the fact that regardless of his awards, any award that he's won, Chris Brown is probably more famous for assaulting Rihanna than any of his actual fucking music. Like his biggest hit is misogyny. He's a misogyny star. Like, it's what? Imagine that being your USP. I mean, the most famous thing you've done is beat up your fucking girlfriend. Score! What a talent. But still, anyway, that's Chris Brown. And armed with all of that knowledge, all of that context, his background, all of the tabloid stuff, the Grammys are like, hey, here you go, King. You're the best. So that was rock and metal and R&B. And the Pop Star Awards too, I took a look at, which are, they're a bit more up to date, as you might expect, because, it kind of has to be whatever has been popular over the last 12 months or so. But still, it's very established, safe, stadium tour pop stars. Rather than, anything up and coming or interesting or, it's all like fucking, it's Taylor Swift, it's Billie Eilish, it's Ariana Grande, it's Beyonce. And like Beyonce was weird because she won the best country album Grammy. Like these R&B and hip hop acts from like 10, 15 years ago have all pivoted to country. Because the backward fucking rednecks are the only ones that still buy actual CDs. It's like hard copy. It's a commercial move. They're like, oh, I'm country now. Oh, are you? Your Beyonce's gone country. Oh, okay. Well, we'll give her the best country album then. Like, fuck your friend Billy Ray from Missouri or Texas. Taught himself to play the guitar at like 12 years old, taught himself to write songs, toured around Nashville. Clearly, the nominations for Best Country Album, I mean, that shouldn't just go to Beyonce. It should be won by Beyonce, but then it should be, the other nominations should be, get this right, so Beyonce, Jelly Roll, also a rapper, and Post Malone, and Miley Cyrus, who kind of sort of started out as country, but is now, comfortably pop. But all of them have pivoted back to country. And Beyonce just won it. And honestly, like music is just so fucked up now. It's such a mess. Like I was doing, this is sort of, off topic really with the Grammys, but I was doing some research the other day. into how not very lucrative being a pop star in the UK is these days. And it was actually, quite mind-blowing how little they earn now, because people look at pop stars like like they're actually rich, don't they? Still, they're salivating, adoring of pop stars in the tabloids, news, TV shows, but they're not really rich, especially UK only kind of names. But if your cousin said, or if you heard that she had been signed by a record label and then she went on to have a number 2 hit, or 2 top 10 hits, you would probably be like, oh wow, yeah, she's gonna be rich and famous then. Like that's her thing. That would be a fairly normal reaction, I think. Most people would assume if you had 2 top 10 hits that you are then rich and famous. And the reality is quite different, but people assume that because of the history of the profession that it's rooted in. Where, back in the day, bands and singers, they would get to number 1, they'd sell 1 million copies of their albums, and then they would go and buy a mansion, right? Like, that's kind of the old rock star archetype, isn't it? But now it's like, what I found through doing this research was like, if you're a British singer and you just a bog standard British kind of pop star, you just stand there and look pretty, you do a shit cover song, you didn't write it, but it does go to number 1 or number 2. I looked into how much money you make after everything has been counted and all the costs have been deducted. I was like, how much money do these people make really? Bear in mind that streaming pays fucking dick. It doesn't pay anything, and nobody buys records anymore, right? But they count. I think it's 100 streams equals 1 copy sold. There's a metric for it that they then judge for the chart. So that's how people still get a number 1 single, even though basically nobody ever fucking buys the single that isn't number 1, right? So bear in mind that streaming doesn't pay anything and most people just stream. Nobody buys these records. So whatever you make is nothing, basically. Nothing. And then you have to subtract however much the record company has subbed you to record the song and make the video, and any marketing costs and you staying in a hotel and all. Basically after assuming it has gone top 10, or that 2 of them have gone top 10, you make, after all the costs have been deducted, you make about the same as just a bog standard call center worker. It's 20 grand. It's 15 grand if you're lucky. If you sell a shit ton of t-shirts or ringtones or something, it's 15, 20 grand a year. It's not even funny how little you get paid now to do that job. And for what as well? That's the thing. What do you have to deal with to get that 15 grand or 20 grand after tax, after the label have recouped on their investment? You've had your name, face plastered all over the internet, people you've never met calling you mid as fuck, in your Instagram comments. Nah, she mid, man. Nah, she proper mid, man. You're getting dick pics in your DMs from people you've never met. And you have absolutely no interest in meeting, let alone seeing the reproductive organs that they keep in their trousers. You never see any of your friends or your family anymore, because you're always being shipped off to some god-awful Capital Extra meet and greet or something. Maybe it's glamorous to some people. Maybe it's, lots of cameras clicking. You get probably quite a big Instagram profile off the back of it. I don't know. Maybe to some people it is still glamorous, and that's how you get paid. Is you get to feel like a star for a bit. Have people in the street asking you to take a picture with them, maybe. maybe it's glamorous. Or maybe, if you just look at the substance of it, maybe it is just minimum wage work. And it's hectic and stressful and expensive and shit now to be this insulated, isolated, overexposed commodity that everybody else is capitalizing on, and you make fucking nothing out of it. And like, all you can afford, maybe at the end of it, if you stay living with your parents and you save all of that 10k or 20k, maybe after year 2, maybe at the end of it, after all that stress and your picture all over the papers and everything, maybe you might just have enough to put down a portion of the deposit on a Help to Buy 1 bed in Milton fucking Keynes. Like, it's so shit now, financially. I don't know, man. Like, imagine, put yourself in the position of, like, you know, some 19-year-old trainee hairdresser standing in there on the stage of the ITV1 challenge show or talent show on a Saturday night, praying that you win. You're down to the final 3. And you stand to make a net total of £20,000 off the back of it. You're like, please let it be me. Please let me win this jackpot. Oh, I got a good feeling about this. Are you going to make a lot of money? No. But, you know, I'm thinking, keep my head down, and maybe next year they'll invite me back to be one of the judges. Just keep your head down, Amy. Just keep your head down. Stay focused, and maybe you can be a judge next time on salary. You can double your money, Amy. Just keep focused. Is how they make their money. I mean, it's either that or fucking pivot to country. And honestly, fuck that. Oh, just play the long game, Amy. Just stay focused. And then this time next year, you could be fronting a BBC 3 documentary about legal highs. Just stay focused. So, anyway, music has come up before on the podcast, as I said, but not for a while. We've talked about, you know, the lack of money in it, the drudge. A while ago, I had Emily Davis on, and I've also had Alex Keeval on from the Microdance ages and ages ago. You could go back and see those videos if you like. But we talked about, you know, the pair of them. I've talked to both of them about the advent of MySpace and the impact that it had on the music industry, Napster, Spotify, how they've basically just flooded the zone with so much shit. And it's available so cheap that it's just impossible for much to feel special anymore. You know, now people just listen to a song and they listen to it maybe twice. They don't stick around for the album or give it much of a chance. And there's a brand new playlist then like the next day with another load of brand new shit on it. Or they've got all of their old playlists to go through all over it, right? So very, very little feels or ever becomes special or cherished these days. And maybe that's why the Grammys think that the only things that are special were released fucking decades ago. I don't know, like maybe it's all adding up now. But we've talked about music and the music business here and there sparingly, but I wanted to finish off tonight by talking about my own experiences with the music industry, my own missed chances with music, with the arts, with going for those Grammys, guys. Because I have my own experience of the music industry. I don't know if you knew that. Don't know if I've spoken about this specifically before. I don't think I have. But back in the day, my home county's upbringing, my formative years. In fact, let me set the scene for you. Cast your mind back, guys. Cast your mind back to the 90s, if you will. I was, what was I then? I was a teenager. I was about 15, 16 years old. And like a lot of 90s kids, I was a grunge kid. So from 1994 onwards, my CD player, and it was a CD player, there we go, we've dated it now. My CD player was blaring out what? It was blaring out Nirvana, obviously, Silverchair, Placebo, Therapy, Stone Temple Pilots, Pearl Jam, you get the idea. And so me and some friends formed a band as you do, and we wrote some songs, and we were a huge Nirvana rip-off fan, but a lot of bands were a huge Nirvana rip-off, so, fuck it. And I remember listening to our demo back that we recorded in this studio, and I remember listening to it back again in the car stereo and being like, you know what, this isn't bad. Like, this sounds quite good. Like, sounds professional. Like, the vocals, I thought, sounded okay. And so we sent it off to a few places. A few record labels, management agencies, and obviously, we heard nothing. We played a couple of talent shows here and there. Nothing really ever came of it. And then one day, I remember clearly coming home from college to our house in Ellington Park, and there was an answer phone message on there, like old school answer phones, little TDK tape in there, 5 rings and then beep. And then it's like starts winding the tape, ready to like manually record. Anyway, so I play this message back, and the message is from this lady from Hut Records, which, if you're not familiar, I think they signed Gomez back in the 90s, and also Tom Jones, interestingly enough, was with them when he did his big sort of indie crossover stuff in the 90s with the Cardigans and Stereophonics. He was on Hut then, I believe. And anyway, this voicemail thing was from this girl, and she was like, "Hi, it's a message for Adrian. I got your demo. We listened to it, and it is an absolute gem. Please call me back and let's set up a meeting." And I was just like, oh, fucking wow. Amazing. Oh, holy shit. This is where it all goes right for me. Like, for us, for our band, guys, because we're going to be the next Nirvana. I could just feel it. So I go and meet her, and she is everything that you would expect an A&R girl from an indie rock label in the 90s to be. She is young, she's very attractive, she's hot, she's tattooed, and full of enthusiasm. And so we sit there, we're sitting in the Purple Turtle in Reading, and we sit and we talk about the songs and who wrote them and our influences and what we want to do, what we would like to be presented as, and we agree that the next steps would be for the actual label Suits to come down to a good gig in Reading and then see us play live. So, we set up a gig at Alley Cat Live, which was this cool, professional rock club. Pretty small, I suppose, like capacity about 200 people. Little rock club in Reading on Gun Street. And we were on the bill with a couple of other bands, 3-band bill. I can't remember any of the other bands' names. No idea. Completely lost my memory. But I told the A&R lady, as you do, like the plan that we would be on at Alley Cat Live on this Monday night, and it would be, around 9 o'clock we would be on the stage. And so then the label guys come down. And in their minds, they're like, this is an entry-level band. They're just starting out. So they're gonna be quite young. But also they're going to be on first because they're entry level. They're just starting out. So let's get there early, I assume, was the plan from their perspective. And you know what? Like, plus they probably see, a lot of bands all through the week, and they probably worked in London and like trekked all the way down to Reading to see us, and it's a Monday night, so they probably see enough bands and enough shit singers that they're like, let's just go to the fucking venue and we'll just like cast a glance so we can say that we've seen them, and then let's just fuck off. It's Monday night. I just want to get home to the wife and kids. I don't want to be out late. So they go to Alley Cat Live, apparently, and on comes this other band. And this other band are objectively shit. Like, I don't want to be cruel. I don't want to be like, cunty about it and ungentlemanly. Maybe they just had an off night. It's possible. Happens to everybody, I'm sure. Or maybe it was their first ever gig. I mean, it's a Monday night, not in huge demand, with established acts. Who knows? I honestly don't know. I don't know the whole context, but I know what I saw. And not only were they shit, but they also came on in white sheets. Like, not looking unlike fucking Klansmen. Like, I'm not saying they were. I'm definitely not saying that. I don't know what they were. Except that they were shit. That's what. And superficially racist, maybe. Like what was it? It was, from my memory, it was like terrible indie rock music with white sheets over all of the members. I mean, I reckon Klansmen probably already don't have great music. Like, it's all banjos and fiddles and shit. Like, but even literal Klansmen would have been disappointed by this band with their clan rock. I mean, I'd love to know what the strategy was with them, with that look, you know? Like, maybe it was kind of brave. You know, like maybe it was maybe it's like when black people reappropriated the N-word, you know, and now it's a kind of positive, you know, it can be a term of endearment. There's a sort of familial element to it when a black person uses it with another black person with whom they are friendly and acquainted and all of that. So maybe it's kind of brave, you know. They're trying to reappropriate white sheets into a thing that is inclusive, turn it into an inclusive indie pop rock look. Maybe, I don't know, possibly. Maybe that was the vibe. Maybe it's supposed to be weirdly uniting. Like, everyone saw this fucking band. They were like, do you like this? No. You? No. Also no. Let's fucking go. Like, it unites everyone. The KKK are actually really inclusive, said Aid Thompson. No. Don't twist me words. Obviously what happened was the suits from the label, the heads of Hut Records, came down to this place and they walked in expecting to see an entry-level rock band with young guys with guitars who were perhaps, you know, a little bit rough around the edges. And what they actually saw was an entry-level band with young guys with guitars who were, you know... I mean, there's probably a market for it, right? There's probably a market out there somewhere for guys with white sheets playing shit indie rock. Maybe there's a demographic out there of KKK types who also love shit British indie. It's possible. But it's niche. It's niche as fuck, isn't it? It would be a harder task marketing that than the next Oasis cast or Franz Ferdinand or whatever. So, you know, maybe we cut these guys loose, is what I imagine the heads of Hut Records probably saw and thought. So they come in, they think that we are them. They think that this is the band, that their hot, tattooed understudy has dragged them out and all the way down to Reading on a Monday fucking night to see, and they walk in and they take one look, apparently. They listen to one song, and then they finish their Diet Cokes and they fuck off. That's what happened. And then we get up on the stage, we played our set after them, and we were actually pretty good, as I recall. Like, I can't remember our exact lineup or our set list or anything, but I think we were okay. I remember that gig. I remember that gig being actually pretty good. And so I leave the stage. I come off the stage, you know, feeling kind of pumped. You know, I hang out. I'm talking to different people. I'm grabbing some drinks. I don't really see anyone there from Hut Records or anyone that looks like they might be from a record label. But I'm kind of, you know, perusing around the groups and the crowd, and you know, I'm sort of half arrogantly expecting some Wayne's World scene to happen at this stage. You know that scene at the end of it, like where Mr. Big, he hears Cassandra's band and then he comes into Wayne's basement And he just straight up offers her like a 6-album deal. Like, I'm expecting that to happen. I've just had a great gig. I'm expecting Mr. Big to come up to me and go like, whoa, you guys fucking whale. So I'm walking around like, time to go mansion shopping, eh? This is where it all starts. But nobody comes up. Nobody comes up to me or us or anyone. And I can't see this A&R lady anywhere. And so I'm telling myself, well, you know what? It's a Monday night. You know, they're probably got to be up early, haven't they? They've probably got to be up early and in the office to draft our recording contract and sort out our advance tomorrow. That's probably what happened. So I leave it a day or two, you know, as you do. Leave it a day or two, and I call up the lady, and I'm like, so did they catch our set? Or and she's like, yeah, they did. But they said you came on stage all wearing like white sheets or something. I was like, what? No, we did. That was the band on before us. And she's like, oh, right, okay, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And I'm like, can you just like tell them that wasn't the band that they said? Did they not stick around? They didn't stick around to see. Did they know it was like our name? Did they wait for us to be announced? She was like, no, they think that you guys are the Clan looking guys, the Clan rock band. I'm like, can't you just tell them that we were the second band on? Like that they like, should they come and see us again? Or and she's like, well. She's like, I mean, they came down to see you, you know, and I think they think that they saw you and they found the whole thing like a bit weird, to be honest, with the white sheets. And I'm like, I'm basically begging at this point. I'm like, that wasn't us though. Like, can't you just tell them? Just tell them, like, ask them to come back and see us again. I'll book another gig right now. I'll tell you the date and the time and the venue. Can't you just explain to them that there's been some sort of mix-up? I mean, you said our demo was a gem, that you called us a gem. Like, can't you sort it out? And she's like, I mean, look, once they've come down to see a band and they've got an idea in their head that they're a waste of time or a bit weird or horrendously racist. I mean, they just won't come out again. So I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. And it felt like a breakup call or something like that. I mean, it didn't at the time. I didn't really make a connection. I don't think I'd been dumped by then. But now I think back on it, definite parallels, you know, her sort of trying to cut us loose, me not taking it very well at all. Like, no, there's got to be something. There's got to be something I could change. And she's just like, look, I don't know what to tell you, man. You know, you made me drag my bosses and directors all the way down to fucking Reading on a Monday night to see Clan Rock. I don't know what you did, if you messed up the timings, the stage timings, or if you changed your name, or if the guy announced the wrong band's name when the other band went. I don't know. I'm not sure what happened, but I do know that I'm hugely embarrassed. It's caused me some problems. So no, goodbye and good luck was basically the vibe of it. And I often think back to that experience now. You know, like what might have been. Like, is there another reality out there where they saw us, where they were like, oh, I really love your stuff. Here's the 6-album deal and the £100,000 advance that you were fantasizing about. And like, it wasn't just that. I don't want to go into too much of it because, you know, we're running super, super over and short of time here. But there was another thing, like when I was in my late 20s, I was doing a lot of hip hop production. And I ended up with my demo landing in the lap of Mike Skinner from the streets, and with like Professor Green, and I ended up meeting Example in Notting Hill Arts Centre. And it's just, there's so many of these like sliding doors, serendipitous kind of moments where something was just about to happen and it just didn't. And there's always this part of me that's like, God, but what if? You know, because I still love my music now. Like, I absolutely love. Like, as much as I love doing podcasts and I love doing stand-up, you could buy me off any time that somebody who is a target of my political activism and or satire, any time that you just want to pay me off and shut me the fuck up, Honestly, you could just be like, yeah, there's a Mackie recording studio in a little cottage in Cornwall. I will pay you £100,000 to just fuck off down. I'm gone. I definitely can be bought, guys. Because imagine if I had recorded that album around then. That would have been about 1999, 2000. That's some pretty good songs. Imagine if that shit sold, man. Imagine if that sold like 2-3 million copies, that album. And I would probably just about be in line for a Grammy about now. Guys, that's it. Thank you so much for continuing to tune in, continuing to indulge me. If you would like to jump onto the Patreon or join the YouTube channel, there are links to both in the description. It starts at only £1 a month, and you do get episodes of the pod 2 days before everyone else. You also get access to the Discord, depending on the tiers that you join. I'll be back tomorrow with another alternative paper review. I put those out every morning, Monday to Friday. And then I'll be back on Friday night for the Friday night live show back here on YouTube, 7:30 every Friday night. Until then, keep it booge, keep it influencer, and we are out this motherfucker. Cha!